So this is actually just plain water, and I use it to like clean my nibs and dilute the ink that I use. I always like to have a big mug of fresh water, which I use to either dilute ink. So I live here in the desert and it's really dry here. So this is ink that's been left overnight, and you see it's kind of thick for me. So I'm gonna just add some water to it. And now it's ready to use. By having a supply of clean water, you make sure that your nib is always clean, or else the ink will dry on your nib and ruin the nib. So it's just a habit of mine to like dip in the water first and then to the ink, and it kind of like dilutes it in a way and kind of like really preps the nib. It's just my habit, so I write that way. That way I know that, you know, the ink is properly diluted. I just feel weird if I write without dipping into the water and the ink about equal times. It's not really something you read in the books. It's just something I've picked up. And of course, you know, I use it to clean my nib when I'm done writing. Luckily, I have a restroom next to me that I can use to fetch clean water, but I gotta clean that restroom like a million times a week. Because it's always full of dirty water. So this is a new-ish bottle of bleed-proof white. So you can see it needs a little bit of diluting. In order to create a very nice creamy consistency, I like to like add quite a lot of water to it. So this is just plain water in this jar, dropper. So kind of like that. I like it to be kind of high up because, you know, otherwise I'll have trouble like dipping. So I also have a separate video on diluting bleed-proof white, but now I just get a stirrer and kind of like stir either the top or the bottom layer. I kind of want like a nice whole milk kind of consistency, not too thin and not too thick, so something like this is good. I also use a lot of ink when I'm writing, and I don't like it to be too thin, because if it's too thin, like right now I'm just like thinning it a lot, this happens. Railroading happens. So I like it to be really thick. It takes a little longer to dry, but that's fine. So when I'm writing, I don't just go one shot, blah 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 blah. I lift a lot and I breathe and I look at it and I come back. So you know, don't be afraid of like lifting and taking your time, and you know, and then continue where you have to. So I'm gonna write like a pretty long sentence, a word. So see, I'm already lifting. I lift to dip, I lift to look at things, maybe do a little touch up. I live to flourish. I know this is not how it goes. So you see, almost at every word I lift. So it's not as if I'm writing like this. This is like absolutely no lifting. I can't do that. I have to take my time and write. Up, up. It also gives you time to like look around and see what you're doing right. Try to fix mistakes. Whoops. Okay, I don't really know. When I'm flourishing, I always lift my wrist. So I do not flourish with my wrist stuck on the table, because if you do that, you end up doing finger movement. And finger movement, you're kind of like restricted to this much space. But if you lift your wrist and use your whole arm to write, you are not restricted. You can go anywhere you like. So let me show you. I'm gonna try and flourish with my wrist down. It's hard enough to write. You just immediately have to slow down, and it's just terrible. Instead, try lifting up your wrist. So you're kind of balancing on the tip of your last finger here. So like this. You see? You see, my whole wrist is like locked. Let's do it again. Now I always like mentally prepare myself before flourishing. Once you learn to lift, you feel much more freedom in your writing. You can also see that I just barely hold on to my pen holder too. I'm not like gripping it really tight. It's really hard to write flourish when you're gripping super tight, because you're not giving yourself the freedom that you need. So instead, sometimes when I'm flourishing, I just lightly, barely hold it and just, you know, go for it. Okay, mentally prepare. Now let's go for it. Let's keep going. Oops. Keep going. Maybe we should stop. Okay, we should stop right now. It's too much. It's so hard to stop. Alright, let's stop. Just one more. Okay. You know, you want to go big or go home, right? Alright, this is the last one.